Hello everyone. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. And may tayad nga adlaw, kinyong tanan, that's Aklanon. Um, um, First of all, thank you very much for the invitation, Chris. Thanks for the invitation. And I'm definitely genuinely pleased to be able to, be part of your session today. Um, I was asked, to give you a some kind of like an inspirational speech. And I also have quite a few questions, from some of you for me to be able to address them in this particular speech. But, you might not be happy with what I'm going to do, or it may not necessarily be how you expected an inspirational speech to be. But I will do it anyway. So I will do it definitely differently, and hopefully that you will see the point of why I deliver my speech in a particular way. Because you see, I've worked in the field of English language teaching, and learning, doing research in this area for more than 2 decades already, and and then also I've conducted workshops, trainings, and work with teachers in Southeast Asia, specifically, of course, and other than the Philippines, other than Singapore, where I worked for 20 years, other countries such as Vietnam, Indonesia, to a lesser extent, Brunei Darussalam, um, Malaysia, and I've also worked with other teachers and colleagues, and scholars in other Southeast Asian countries, and of course beyond the region. And I think to me, um, in the context of English language teaching, all right, and I think this is something that I think I have to emphasize that when we're talking about um, you know English language teaching, um, fundamentally, or almost instantaneous, how do you call it, instantaneously, um, we always ask questions about the how-to of teaching. We always ask questions about particular strategies, particular approaches, in the way we teach or in the way we learn. Now, I'm not saying these are intrinsically wrong questions or problematic questions, but to me, and this is the core of my inspirational speech, the most important of all is to address the question of our language beliefs. To me, um, not just understanding, but unpacking perhaps some of the complexities of our language beliefs, and perhaps why our language beliefs are destructive. For example, in English language teaching and learning, I think these are things that we need to to address first and foremost. Hindi teaching strategies, hindi methodologies, hindi approaches, but to me, yung mga beliefs natin about language. And I think that's something that is very core to everything that we do as English language learners, as English language teachers, as English language teacher educators, as well. And that is the reason why I said in the beginning that it is important that I manage your expectations. This is an inspirational speech, but I'm not sure whether it's going to be inspirational. But definitely, it's something that addresses certain key questions that that we need to face and that we need to confront in the field. Now, you might be wondering now why I ask you to check out the music videos of Alamat. I'm probably some of you are aware of this group. It's a relatively new boy group, Filipino boy group, in the Philippines. They just debuted. Their debut was only last February, meaning this year. But I have been, consciously and intently following this group because of its multilingual nature, because of its very explicit, straightforward promotion of a vision of Filipino music that taps into, the cultural sensibilities and the histories of the Philippines, especially histories that have been long ignored by our history classes as well. So they raise awareness of the importance of cementing or creating or recreating Filipino identity. They raise awareness of you know the importance of a fusion, for example, of music, that you know we can be open to globalization, we can be open to different influences from abroad, but that we must not be able to forget that we should not forget our own Filipino identity as well. So if you have looked at or watched the music video of Alamat, videos of Alamat, you will find out that it's what they call edutainment. It entertains you, they entertain you, these videos, but at the same time they also educate you, about issues of racism, issues of marginalization, issue of multilingualism, for example. If you look at the members of the group, their visuals, are very diverse, different, different skin colors, for example, and so on and so forth. They sing in many different Philippine languages. They wear, Filipino inspired clothes or clothing as well. Um, and if you start searching, or reading up on them in social media, you will find out that they are committed to such a vision that I just explained to you. Now, for those of you who probably are aware of some of my work online, I also um, actually follow. I actually follow P-pop groups and OPM in general, because I do believe that popular culture should be injected into education a lot more than we do as educators. I have written a lot about SB19. I'm an 18 myself. So if you check out some of my newspaper articles about them, I have been writing about them even before they won awards internationally. But this time, my focus is on Alamat. Again, precisely because they directly address the question of multilingualism and multiculturalism, and something that I think, to me, we can learn from. Now, so the reason why I say that is because, as what I said, it may not necessarily be inspirational to you, but I am just taking this opportunity to be able to just simply talk to you about some issues in the field that I think we should be able to address. Hindi muna the how to, hindi muna the teaching strategies, but yung mga language beliefs natin. Kasi tumama man yung pagturo natin in terms of our strategies, pero kung hindi naman tama in the first place, yung mga paniniwala natin tungkol sa wika, parang wala din. Kasi let us remember, our language beliefs actually could also be destructive and could have a negative impact on, on teaching and learning as well. So I am now going to share a screen so that I can actually then talk about language beliefs. And here I title my talk as Decolonizing Our Language Beliefs. Now, if you notice here, right, I have some screenshots, for example, of of certain images, certain parts of the song Kasmala of Alamat, and I'll be referring to these to some of these in a little while. Now, for example, you have RG here, who is actually from Samar, Waray-Waray. Makikita natin dito, no, sa music video na Kasmala. Meron siyang sinasayaw together with someone na nakaputi, all over. And behind that, of course, you have, again, the letters of the alphabet, the English alphabet, and some letters in English, some words in English, such as apple, ball, cat and duck and so on and so forth. All right. Now, if you look back historically, actually, this is in reference to a particular photo at the time, during the American colonization, kung saan, an American female teacher was seen to have, was seen to be dancing with Filipino native. And I think this is something, this is an image that is very strong and powerful because it actually accumulates and you know, um, it actually produces certain perceptions of education na pinapakita dito na, ang mga natives, so to speak, noong araw na ito, mga Filipino natives, so to speak, ay naging enlightened lang kasi tinuruan sila. At kasama dito, syempre, ang pagtuturo ng English, kagaya nung sinabi ngayon, pinakita dito sa music video na 𝐬𝐻𝐴𝐺. So I guess the important point that I would like to mention here is that the difference between colonialism and coloniality, ang sinasabi natin, wala na yung colonialism sa Pilipinas kasi wala na yung mga colonizers. Pero ang punto ko dito, punto din ng 𝐻𝐻𝐴𝐺 dito is that doon sa music video is that meron pa rin talagang sumasayaw sa atin na hindi natin nakikita. Pero somehow they in a sense they shape the things that we do. They shape the things that we that we do in everyday life, at yun yung pinapakita dito sa picture na to. Ito naman si 𝐵𝐻. 𝐵𝐻 is Bisaya from Davao City, at pinapakita dito parang binabrush siya yung kanyang katawan. Nililinisan siya kasi hindi siya ganoon kaputi, right? And this one is in reference to another one in the past. That this is the president of the United States at the time, President McKinley. Pinapakita nito na nakalagay dito actually sa is the Filipinos' first bath, oh you dirty boy. Na pinapakita dito visually na mga Pilipino ay marurumi dahil sa kulay ng kanilang mga pagkutis, and basically because of the perception that they are of lowly species among human beings. So kailangang brushan, kailangang linisan. So makita natin dito again, yung impact ng colonialism on the way we think about ourselves. Nakikita natin dito even in entertainment, in the entertainment industry. Pinapakita na yung mga preferences ng karamihan, o maraming mga Pilipino talaga lagi, basta puti, okay. Diba? Of course, we cannot generalize or overgeneralize, but I think this has got something to do with how we perceive ourselves as Filipinos. Pinapakita dito na parang feeling natin madumi tayo, feeling natin na hindi pa tayo pantay doon sa sa ibang mga lahi. That's why we need to always look up, quote unquote, to other people of a different kind, especially those who are of a certain skin color. The same thing din, yung difference dito na yes, tapos na nga itong picture na ito ni President McKinley, pero hanggang ngayon may mga ganun pang mga invisible power in our lives, lalo na sa pag-iisip natin na kailangan natin na which I think we need to destroy and change as we move along. Ito si Mo, from Zambales. He's half Black American actually, right? Itong image na to, tingnan natin dito, this is actually also in reference to academic beliefs at that time. Kung makita natin dito na this is a figure that says varying grades of intelligence, kasi merong pag-iisip noon na certain races are superior to other races, at based yan at saka yung intelligence nila ay nakabase kung anong itsura mo, kung saang race ka na belong. So kung dito, the more that you are on the right, the more that you are supposed to be not intelligent. All right? And the more you are on the left, matangos ilong, puti, belong to this kind of race, supposedly mas matalino, in other words. So yun dapat dati colonial ways of knowing, so to speak, yung ganitong lasing mga pag-iisip. Pero pinapakita din natin dito na hanggang ngayon, pinapakita ng music video na hanggang ngayon actually may mga ganong klaseng pag-iisip. Right? And lastly, itong si Taneo, who is from Kalinga, that's why he sings or in Ilocano, in some of the songs of Alamat, nakagapos siya dito, di ba? And this is in reference to, I'm not sure kung alam ninyo ito, pero I think this is something that we need to know and to know much more about kasi kasama to sa kasaysayan ng Pilipinas kung saan in the early 1900s may mga Pilipinos na forcibly sapilitang dinala sa United States upang gawin silang parang human zoo, alright? Na parang tingin sa kanila ay parang mga unggoy, tingin sa kanila parang mga backward ng mga human beings, kaya ginagapos sila at pinapanood sila ng mga tao around them, di ba? This is a sad state of colonial work at the time na hindi natin o karamihan sa atin hindi alam na nangyari para in fact suntingin natin dito, so many of those Filipinos who were shipped to the United States to become human zoos, parang zoo pero mga humans sila, hindi mga animals, right? Actually marami sa kanila talaga namatay because of the conditions that they were in. Just siyempre, plucked out of the Philippines, iba yung weather, iba yung pagkain, naging vulnerable sila to diseases na hindi naman dapat, and so on and so forth. So this was, not just a sad, but it's really, a very, very grim part of the history. Hindi natin alam. Pero hanggang ngayon, ganun pa rin. Yan, nakagapos pa rin tayo, ang sabi ng music video, dun sa mga colonial na mga pag-iisip. Right? Now, why am I sharing this with you? Because, in my classes, I use songs, I use music, I actually use pop culture. For example, I go to YouTube, I go to different platforms in social media, for example, and also actually I look around, you take pictures of the linguistic landscapes, for example. Kasi to me, these are things that are very relatable. These are things that our students and you can also relate to. Kasi these are all part of pop culture. These are part of certain kinds of thinking and practices that I think to us we can relate to, and especially so with this particular song and the songs of Alamat, for example. I challenge you and I urge you to check this group because it's an absolutely brilliant group in terms of putting up a vision for not just P-pop but also OPM. Kasi I use this because there are jump-off points for discussion. All right, there are jump-off points for discussion about our beliefs. There are jump-off points of discussion about so many things that are very close to us. We just talk about visuals, for example. It tells you about the diversity of visuals, the diversity of skin colors, the diversity of the way we look as Filipinos, for example. We talk about aesthetics. In other words, influences from other musical genres, for example, abroad, plus the infusion of instruments into their music as well, and of course the use of Philippine languages can bring together and what that means, for example, to our Filipino identities. Kahit in an English language classroom, these can be take-off points, right, for discussion, for brainstorming. This can be take-off points for even research, to some of you, for some of you, because they actually talk about issues related to language, to discourse, to identity as well, right? So what does coloniality here have got something to do? Because to me, yung mga language beliefs na pinapaniwalaan natin ngayon are very colonial still in nature, na hindi natin alam na yun pala ay minana na natin even before. Halimbawa, ito, this was in 1916, it says English ousts dialects from Philippines. Makikita natin dito, no, na isa sa mga colonial na impact ng colonialism is ginawang mas importante yung English kaysa sa mga Philippine languages. At yung tingin natin dito, no, dialects from Philippines. In other words, yung Aklanon na sinasalita ko, siguro sa ilan sa inyo, Ilocano, meron namang Bisaya, meron namang Hiligaynon or Ilonggo, meron namang Pangasinan, meron namang Bicolano, more than 100 Philippine languages, di ba? Pero tingnan natin dito, no? And actually in so many articles in the past, dialects ang tawag. Alright? Bakit dialects ang tawag? Kasi ginawang mas magaling, ginawang mas malakas ang English. And that is the reason why right now, even our teachers, even ourselves, even our parents, still think of our Philippine languages as dialects. Just a point of fact, and I have to be very strong about this as English language teachers, as language educators, Philippine languages are not dialects, all right? They are not dialects, they are Philippine languages. They are languages because they are of equal value with all the languages in the world. Tinuruan lang na tayo na sinasabi na dialect sila kasi nga mas mababa ang tingin sa mga Philippine languages. At minana natin yung pag-iisip na ito. Now, so here, therefore, one of the things that we need to check, as English language teachers and English language learners, as educators, English, coloniality ng beliefs natin ay yung tunga na English is a language and the Philippine languages are dialects. Now, again, I have to emphasize this first and foremost, Philippine languages are not dialects. They are languages. All right? Sinasabi kasi natin kasi local siya or regional and so on and so forth. Pero hindi. Halimbawa, ako, I speak Aklanon. My wife speaks Ilocano. Pag nag-uusap kaming dalawa, hindi kami nagkakaintindihan. So yun yung test ng mutual intelligibility. Kung hindi kami nagkakaintindihan, most likely, languages yung sinasalita namin, di ba? So Ilocano is a language, Aklanon is a language. Kasi within a clan, alright, yung mga pinsan ko, yung mga kaibigan ko na malapit sa Boracay, alright, dun sa Malay, alright, they speak Aklanon to me. I also speak Aklanon to them. Pero magkaiba yung tono ng Aklanon namin. May mga words sila na ginagamit, may mga sounds sila na ginagamit na iba yung tono, ibang tunog, di ba? Pero nagkakaintindihan pa rin kami kasi Aklanon yung gamit natin. So yun ang tinatawag ng dialects. Kalibo dialect, in other words, doon sa capital, kung saan ako galing, meron kaming isang variety ng Aklanon na iba doon sa variety ng Aklanon na ginagamit sa Boracay. Kasi sa Boracay, Aklanon siya, pero Malaynon variety naman, Malaynon dialect. So yun na ibig sabihin ng dialect. Ganon din sa Ilocano, marami ng iba-ibang varieties ng Ilocano, depende kung saan ka galing, and so on and so forth. Pero Ilocano din sila lahat. Alright? Yun yung dialects. Pero Ilocano is a language. Ilonggo is a language. Tagalog is a language. Aklanon is a language, and so on and so forth. Alright? So let's bear that in mind. Pangalawa, I am a native speaker of English. Yung isa sa mga tinuro sa atin noon, many years ago, during the time of colonialism, tayo ay non-native speaker of English. Now, i-explain ko sa inyo mamaya kung bakit problemado ito. Because you see, when you say, I am a non-native speaker of English, tinuro sa atin na when we describe ourselves as English speakers, we have to describe ourselves based on who we are not. So, pag binasa mo yung sentence na ito, I am a non-native speaker of English, ibig sabihin din, hindi ako non-native speaker of English. So, yung identity ko as an English teacher, as an English speaker, is based on kung ano hindi ako. Alright? Bakit? Kasi pag non-native ang sinasabi dito, mababa ang turo. Mababa ang tingin. Kasi supposedly, mas superior kung native speaker ka. Di ba? Ganon yung pagpaniniwala natin. If you're a native speaker, teacher of English, mas magaling ka. A teacher, mas magaling magturo, mas magaling English. Pero when you talk about research in the field, wala naman eh. Wala namang pinagpapakita na mas magaling ang isang native speaker of English than a non-native speaker of English. Alright? Tinuro lang sa atin na mas magaling sila or hindi, di ba? So later on, I will explain. So paano natin, how do we reclaim, this kind of identity that has been imposed on us, by colonialism? Pangatlo, tinuro din sa atin na local languages interfere in the learning of English. Tinuro sa atin, even in our own courses, pag local languages, itong mga Philippine languages, ang parating ginagamit, ay huwag mong gamitin yan kasi mag-i-interfere yan in the learning of English. So pag use pa lang the word ng interfere, it's already very, very negative. Alright? Negative. So para bang kasalanan ng mga local languages, kasalanan ng multilingualism, kasalanan ng mga lingwahe at wika ng Pilipinas, kung bakit, may impact siya sa pag-learn ng English. But the fact is that, number one, we are multilingual speakers, right? So we cannot avoid, in a sense, we have to embrace it in the learning of English, right? Pangalawa, actually, they enrich the learning of English. They help facilitate the learning of English. Bilinguals, multilinguals, research has shown, right, actually have empirically shown, that they actually have more, cognitive, they have more developed cognitive skills, for example. Supposedly, they are able to manage different sorts of complex ideas and practices brought together. In other words, may advantage talaga yung bilingual or multilingual speakers, being able to use at least 2 languages in our lifetime, right? Pero pag tinuro dito, local languages interfere, parang pangit ang tingnan, parang kasalanan ng Philippine languages na we are multilingual in the first place. Isa pa sa mga colonial na tinuro sa atin na yung mga Western texts and approaches are privileged, right? Yung mga articles, yung mga kwento, yung mga fairy tales, halimbawa, lahat ng mga approaches, basta approaches galing abroad, yun tama, yun talaga kailangan ang napapaniwalaan natin, ituro sa atin kasi yun yung tama. Pero there are actually also approaches that are very local and indigenous na kailangan nating tayo mag-research din kasi, kami mga kwento rin, mga kwentong galing sa mga komunidad natin. Alright? Pero tinuro sa atin kasi na hindi sila importante. Tinuro kasi sa atin na hindi sila magaling o maganda. Alright? Kasi dapat yung mga fairy tales yung maganda, dapat yung mga fairy tales yung okay, yun yung ituro natin, yung mga rhymes, halimbawa, mga nursery rhymes and stories. All right. I will skip this particular part. All right. Of our of my slides, just to give us an idea of of the coloniality of our language beliefs. So ano ibig sabihin nito? So ano kailangan natin gawin? And I hope this is something that inspires. I'm not sure whether they will. All right. But to me, they should inspire change. They should spark change in the way we look at language teaching in general. Let us decolonize our language beliefs. Una-una, tanggalin natin yung pag-iisip na Philippine languages are dialects. All right? Hindi sila dialects. They are languages. All right? And they have a role to play. All right? Even in English language classrooms. At itong sinasabi ko, all right? Ako, I don't want to consider myself, I don't want to present myself as a non-native speaker of English. I don't want to consider myself and I don't want to present myself as a non-native teacher of English. All right? Bakit? Bakit ko i-define yung sarili ko according to what I am not? All right? Kasi pag sinabing I am a non-native speaker of English, I will never be a native speaker of English. And that shouldn't be the aim of English language teaching. That shouldn't be the aim of, going to the classroom and teaching our kids, teaching our students or pupils English. All right? So, para bang turo tayo ng turo. Dapat native speaker norms yung turo natin, gamitin natin. But we will never be able to achieve them because we have been defined as non-native speakers of English. I think we need to redefine and reframe our own identities Let us call ourselves, I am a multilingual speaker of English. Let us refer to ourselves as multilingual speakers of English. Ano ibig sabihin nito? Ibig sabihin nito, pinagmamalaki natin that we are multilingual speakers of English. Pinagmamalaki natin that as English speakers, meron pa tayong ibang alam na mga lingwahe. At itong mga lingwahe nito, itong mga wikang ito, Tagalog man, the national language, or other even Philippine languages, enrich my study, my learning of English, and they do not prevent me from learning English well. All right? I think that's very, very important. Let's do away with this whole idea that we are non-native speakers of English because they just simply, research has shown, bumababa ng moral, right? Pinapabaan ng confidence level natin because of that. We need to highlight the fact that we are multilingual speakers of English and we should be proud of it. And that local languages help facilitate the learning of English. Hindi dapat magkalaban yung English and other Philippine languages. At ang ginagawa kasi natin, ang ginagawa sa mga classrooms natin, parang pinag-away-away sila. No, but actually no, all right? We can learn about the structures, we can learn about, in comparative and contrastive, in a contrastive way, certain words, certain meanings, all right? And we compare them with the words. Actually, what the research has shown, pag mas maraming alam yung mga estudyante in terms of comparing, for example, yung grammar ng English with the grammar of other languages, pag nakita nila yung difference, ay ganito pala sa lingwahe ko. Pero ganito pala yung grammar na ito sa English. I say this sentence in English this way, I say this sentence this way in Aklanon because, right? Pag makita natin yung difference, pinapakita sa research na actually mas maraming matututunan ang mga estudyante. All right? So let us not think of Philippine languages as working against English. They can also help facilitate the learning of English. And of course, let's go back to stories. Let's go back to asking our communities and delving into researching our communities. Tingnan natin, may mga kwento, no? Mga local histories, mga cultures, dapat yun ang maipasok sa mga syllabus natin, sa curriculum natin. Kasi dito tayo humuhugot ng identities natin. Dito tayo humuhugot ng pagkakilala kung sino tayo bilang mga Pilipino. Okay? And Mabugid ni Sigamat, that is actually, again, thank you very much in Aklanon. All right. So again, as what I said, this may not have been the way you expected an inspirational speech to be, but I thought of doing this kasi nga, para sa akin, all questions about language teaching strategies and approaches, to me, these are things that we can all learn, as we move along in our teaching careers, all right, in our teaching career. But to me, ang pinaka-core, as what I said, ay yung mga language beliefs natin. Kasi posible kasi na yung mga language beliefs na ito will be destructive to teaching and will be destructive to English language learning and will be destructive to our students. That is embrace, all right, kung sino tayo bilang Filipino as teachers and as learners of English. Let us embrace who we are. We are multilingual speakers of English, and our multilingualism, our use of different languages, Philippine languages, nakakatulong ito sa atin, sa ating identity, sa pagtuturo ng English in the first place. All right? So let us bear this in mind. I mean, I know I may not be able to have answered some of your questions, but I think let's start with this. Let's start rethinking and let's start, changing our attitude towards, ourselves as supposed non-native speakers of English. That, we should, push towards, legitimizing, our resources, who we are, our identities as Filipinos, and so on and so forth. Okay, I do have quite a number of videos online on YouTube. So if you have questions about this, for example, you can just simply, message me All right. Chris, perhaps you can pick up some of these questions so that I can refer you to some of my articles, and I can refer you to some of my videos and presentations online. Kasi marami naman talaga siya online that I may be able to answer them through these videos and through these presentations online as well. So once again, maraming salamat for listening. Thank you once again for the invitation. And let's keep going. Let's keep rethinking who we are as English language teachers and learners. Maraming salamat and have a good day.